Unveiling the hidden potential, how embracing diversity in media can transform society. Welcome to a conversation that will challenge your perceptions, ignite your passion for change, and revolutionize the way we think about representation in media. Today, we're delving into insights from Diamantina Browdy, a trailblazing actress, erotic poet, writer, author, and singer whose work is reshaping our understanding of authentic expression and diversity in entertainment. Diamantina's powerful voice and unwavering commitment to authenticity are not just changing the face of media, they're transforming lives and paving the way for a more inclusive, expressive society. Imagine a world where the color of your skin doesn't determine your worth on screen. A world where dark-skinned women aren't typecast as slaves or hypersexualized caricatures, but as complex, multifaceted individuals with stories that resonate across all demographics. Now, ask yourself, why isn't this our reality? The entertainment industry has long operated under a flawed paradigm, one that marginalizes dark-skinned women and confines them to narrow, often demeaning roles. This isn't just an issue of fairness. It's a missed opportunity on a massive scale. We're about to embark on a journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about representation in media and the untapped potential of diverse storytelling. Let's start with a stark reality check. When was the last time you saw a dark-skinned woman as the lead in a blockbuster movie that wasn't about slavery or struggle? When did you last see an erotic poet celebrated for her raw, unapologetic expression of sexuality without being reduced to a stereotype? The scarcity of these representations isn't just disappointing, it's damaging to our collective psyche and our understanding of human complexity. Diamantina Browdy's experiences as a dark-skinned actress and erotic poet have illuminated a troubling pattern in our entertainment landscape. She's witnessed firsthand how casting calls for dark-skinned women often revolve around roles that perpetuate harmful stereotypes: the slave, the angry black woman, the hypersexualized object of desire. This narrow view not only limits opportunities for talented performers, but also reinforces societal biases that have real-world consequences. But here's where it gets interesting, and where our perspective needs to shift dramatically. The problem isn't a lack of talent or audience interest. It's a systemic failure of imagination and courage within the industry. We've been operating under the false assumption that audiences won't connect with or support stories centered around dark-skinned women in nuanced leading roles. This assumption isn't just wrong, it's costing us culturally and economically. Let's look at the numbers. Studies have shown that diverse casts and inclusive storytelling lead to higher box office returns and increased viewership. A 2020 report by McKinsey and Company revealed that addressing racial inequities in the film and TV industry could unlock more than $10 billion in annual revenues. This isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about tapping into an enormous, underserved market hungry for authentic representation. But it's not just about quantity, it's about quality. The roles offered to dark-skinned women need to evolve beyond the limiting archetypes we've seen repeated ad nauseum. We need characters that showcase the full spectrum of human experience: joy, love, ambition, vulnerability, strength, and everything in between. When we allow dark-skinned women to inhabit these multidimensional roles, we're not just changing the entertainment landscape, we're reshaping societal perceptions and opening up new possibilities for empathy and understanding. Consider the impact of seeing a dark-skinned woman as the brilliant CEO of a tech company navigating complex business decisions while balancing personal relationships. Or imagine a dark-skinned woman as the lead in a romantic comedy, pursued and desired, not for her body, but for her wit, charm, and intelligence. These portrayals don't just entertain, they challenge stereotypes, inspire dreams, and reshape our collective understanding of what's possible. Now, let's talk about the power of words and the transformative potential of erotic poetry. Diamantina Browdy's work as an erotic poet challenges another deeply ingrained societal norm: the idea that explicit, unapologetic expressions of sexuality from women, especially women of color, are somehow inappropriate or less valuable than more veiled forms of expression. This censorship, whether externally imposed or internalized, is another form of oppression. It silences voices that have the power to heal, to connect, and to revolutionize our understanding of desire and human connection. By embracing raw, honest expressions of sexuality through art, we open up new avenues for self-discovery and mutual understanding. Imagine the impact if we created more spaces for this kind of open, unfiltered artistic expression. We're not just talking about niche poetry readings in dimly lit cafes. We're envisioning a world where erotic poetry is recognized as a valuable form of literature, where it's studied in universities, featured in mainstream publications, and celebrated for its ability to challenge, provoke, and illuminate the human experience. The resistance to this idea stems from the same root as the resistance to diverse representation in film and television: fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of confronting our own biases and preconceptions. But as history has shown us time and time again, it's only by pushing through this fear that we achieve true progress and innovation. So what would happen if we fully embraced these ideas? If we committed to authentic, diverse representation in our media and celebrated unfiltered artistic expression in all its forms? The ripple effects would be profound and far-reaching. First, we'd see a seismic shift in the entertainment industry. More diverse stories would lead to more diverse audiences, creating a virtuous cycle of representation and engagement. This isn't just speculation. We've seen glimpses of this potential with the success of films like Black Panther and Crazy Rich Asians, but imagine if this wasn't the exception but the new norm. We'd also see a transformation in how society perceives and values dark-skinned women. By consistently seeing them in complex leading roles, we'd be challenging deeply ingrained biases and stereotypes. This wouldn't just change hearts and minds. It would open up new opportunities in all areas of life, from education to employment to leadership positions. In the realm of poetry and literature, embracing raw, honest expressions of sexuality would lead to a renaissance of sorts. We'd see new forms of expression emerge, new voices rise to prominence, and a more nuanced, inclusive understanding of human desire and connection. This openness could have profound effects on everything from sex education to relationship counseling to our broader cultural attitudes towards intimacy and vulnerability. But perhaps most importantly, these changes would empower countless individuals to embrace their authentic selves. Imagine a young, dark-skinned girl seeing someone who looks like her as the hero of a blockbuster film, not as a sidekick or a stereotype. Imagine a budding poet finding the courage to express their deepest desires and experiences without fear of judgment or censure. These representations and opportunities don't just entertain or provoke, they validate experiences, inspire dreams, and shape identities. Now, I can already hear the objections forming, but isn't this just reverse discrimination, some might ask? Aren't we just replacing one form of bias with another? To this I say, expanding opportunities for one group doesn't mean limiting opportunities for others. This isn't about exclusion, it's about inclusion. It's about enriching our collective cultural tapestry by incorporating voices and perspectives that have been systematically marginalized. Others might argue that explicit sexual content has no place in mainstream art or media. But this argument ignores the long history of erotic art and literature that has shaped our cultural understanding of love, desire, and human connection. From ancient Greek poetry to Renaissance art to modern literature, expressions of sexuality have always been a vital part of human creativity. By embracing rather than shunning these expressions, we open ourselves up to a fuller, more honest exploration of the human experience. Let's consider a real world example that illustrates the power of diverse representation and authentic expression. In 2018, a small independent film called The Rider was released. Directed by Chloe Zhao, a Chinese filmmaker, the movie told the story of a young Native American cowboy in South Dakota. It wasn't a blockbuster by any means, but it received critical acclaim and helped launch Zhao's career. 2 years later, Zhao became the first woman of color to win the Academy Award for Best Director for her film Nomadland. This story isn't just about one filmmaker's success. It's about the doors that open when we allow diverse voices to tell their stories. Zhao's unique perspective allowed her to tell stories that hadn't been told before, in ways they hadn't been told before, and audiences responded. They connected with these stories, not because they were about Native Americans or Chinese immigrants,
but because they were fundamentally human stories told with authenticity and skill. Now, let's bring this back to our discussion of dark skinned women in media and the power of erotic poetry. What if we applied the same principle? What if we allowed dark skinned women to tell their own stories in their own words without the filters of stereotypes or societal expectations? Imagine a world where a dark skinned woman could write and star in a romantic comedy that doesn't shy away from sexuality, but also doesn't reduce her to a sexual object. A film that shows her as a fully realized human being with desires, fears, ambitions, and flaws. A film that allows her to be vulnerable, strong, sexy, and intelligent all at once. Or consider the impact of an erotic poetry collection by a dark skinned woman published by a major publishing house and critically acclaimed for its literary merit. A collection that explores desire, power, and identity in ways that challenge our preconceptions and expand our understanding of human sexuality. These aren't just pipe dreams, they're possibilities waiting to be realized, and they have the power to transform not just our media landscape, but our society as a whole. So, where do we go from here? How do we turn these ideas into reality? It starts with awareness, recognizing the biases in our current system and actively working to counteract them. But awareness alone isn't enough. We need action. If you're a filmmaker, a producer, a casting director, challenge yourself to look beyond traditional casting choices. Actively seek out and create opportunities for dark skinned women in leading multifaceted roles. If you're a writer or a publisher, make space for diverse voices and unfiltered expressions of sexuality in your work and your catalogs. For those in positions of influence, whether you're a teacher, a community leader, or simply someone with a platform, use your voice to advocate for change. Challenge stereotypes when you see them. Amplify diverse voices and perspectives. Create spaces for open, honest discussions about representation and sexuality. And for everyone else, vote with your wallet and your attention. Support films, shows, and books that showcase diverse representation. Attend poetry readings and art shows that push boundaries and challenge norms. Engage in conversations about these issues with friends, family, and colleagues. Every choice, every conversation is an opportunity to shift the narrative. But perhaps most importantly, we need to embrace discomfort. Change is never easy. It requires us to confront our biases, to question our assumptions, to step outside our comfort zones. But it's in this discomfort that growth happens. It's in these challenging moments that we expand our understanding and create new possibilities. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge that, if accepted, could be the first step towards the transformative change we've been discussing. In the next week, I want you to seek out a piece of media, a film, a book, a poem that represents a perspective you're not familiar with, something that makes you a little uncomfortable, that pushes you out of your comfort zone. Maybe it's a film with a dark skinned woman in a leading role you wouldn't expect. Maybe it's an erotic poem that challenges your notions of what's acceptable to express publicly. Whatever it is, I want you to engage with it fully, with an open mind and an open heart. As you do, pay attention to your reactions. Notice when you feel uncomfortable. Ask yourself why. Why? Challenge your own assumptions and preconceptions. Then take it a step further. Share that experience with someone else. Start a conversation about it. Talk about what surprised you, what challenged you, what you learned. Because it's through these individual actions, these small steps towards understanding and inclusion that we begin to create real lasting change. But don't stop there. I want you to commit to making this a regular practice. Once a month, seek out a piece of media that challenges you in this way. Over time, you'll find that your perspective begins to shift. Your understanding of the world and the people in it will expand. And as you do this, I want you to start thinking about your own role in shaping the media landscape. How can you use your voice, your choices, your influence, however small it might seem, to promote diversity and authentic expression? Maybe it's as simple as recommending a film with a diverse cast to a friend. Maybe it's writing a positive review for a book by a dark skinned author. Maybe it's sharing a powerful piece of erotic poetry on social media, even if it makes you a little nervous to do so. Whatever it is, I want you to commit to taking action. because the world Diamantina Browdy envisions a world of true representation, of unfiltered expression, of celebration of all aspects of the human experience isn't just a pipe dream, it's a possibility waiting to be realized. And each of us has the power to bring it into being. So let's commit to this vision. Let's challenge our assumptions, expand our perspectives, and create a media landscape that truly reflects the rich diversity of human experience. Because when we do, we're not just changing what we see on our screens or read in our books. We're changing how we see ourselves, how we see each other, and ultimately how we shape our world. The power to create this change is in your hands. It's in the choices you make, the stories you choose to engage with, the conversations you start, the art you support. Every action, no matter how small, ripples outward, creating waves of change. So I ask you, what will you do starting today to help create a more inclusive, expressive, and authentic world? How will you use your voice, your choices, your influence to challenge the status quo and open up new possibilities? The future of our media, our culture, and our society is not set in stone. It's shaped by our collective choices and actions. And right now, in this moment, you have the power to shape that future. Will you use it? The choice is yours. The time is now. Let's create a world where every story can be told, where every voice can be heard, where the full spectrum of human experience is celebrated and explored. Together, we can transform not just our media, but our world. Are you ready to take that first step? Thank you.